Man's search for meaning. Today we'll be diving into man's search for superheroes. I'm kidding. Today we'll be talking about man's search for meaning. Oh, and camouflage and hiding. So let's get started. Alright, now you might think that as from my expression that this is one of the good books, like the good ones that are pretty good for your brain, nourishment for your brain, that these are good fiction. Well, no, this is more of the sad version. The author, Viktor E. FRANKL, met Otto Frank, and who almost died. I say almost died. And he talks about his life in concentration camps, which is a pretty bad thing. As I explained in another video, like the book called The Holocaust, I showed you guys this example, where the start of the Holocaust is basically started with a big red button. And that big red button, I didn't explain it in the video, but it said this, that big red button is this one. I'm kidding, it's not. This is not even a button. The big red button is the Nazis themselves. Now, I'm not blaming, actually I am blaming the Nazis for the start of the Holocaust. I mean, they are to blame. I mean, you can find that out in World War II episodes or World War II video games for that matter. But in other times, the Nazis are to blame for the Holocaust and also the suffering of Viktor E. FRANKL. But in this case, he also searches psychology into it, and like logotherapy and psychoanalysis. Okay, let's first talk about his experiences. Now, he had about the experiences of ordinary prisoners. He had a cellmate who gave them comfort a lot. Okay, a lot of exaggerated comfort. He told them that they would meet their families again, and when they did, well, yeah. And then there was this other prisoner that's just created this prophecy where it said that the Holocaust would end on March 30th. And as the prophecy neared the more red this face becomes. Okay, so during the start of the prophecy was this close. But when the prophecy neared to the actual date, it turns out the guy who created the prophecy died. And it turns out he asked, when is the war over for me? And he said March 30th. And he died on March 30th. So that means he asked, when will I die? And yeah, it's like that. Wow. That's a pretty bad thing. But then, I mean, it's 1945, so it'll end in this year. They just don't know that. Some people said, this bloody war will never be over. And others said, the war will be over. We will just have to wait and see. Wait and see. Even if it takes centuries to get over. Which is probably impossible for that. But for this, it's a pretty bad story. So, Viktor E. FRANKL was one of the survivors of World War II. And most of the people died. Viktor E. FRANKL told about his times in the Holocaust. He never ever liked the Holocaust. I mean, who does? The Nazis, for that matter. But no one ever, since then, loved the Holocaust. Viktor E. FRANKL, as said, was a pretty far away person. He talked about the Holocaust in a way that he never did. And eventually he said, I think this is what he meant, that this eventually led him to make logotherapy. He's the guy who created logotherapy, at least that's what my sources say. So now let's talk about logotherapy and psychoanalysis. Actually, let's just compare them. So I'll just be talking about logotherapy here, and also we'll be comparing it to psychoanalysis. Now, logotherapy is different to other psychologies, especially psychoanalysis. In psychoanalysis, it's the usual thing. Sitting on a couch and the patient talking to the person. Oh, my head's cut off. Sitting on a couch and talking and telling the, what was it called? Yeah, telling the doctor or psychologist about gruesome things. And so, yeah, that's about it for the psychoanalysis. But for logotherapy, it's a different thing. The patient still sits on the couch, but in this case, they're not the ones who's talking. The psychologist is. The psychologist talks about things that to the patient is very unbearable to hear. Like, you need a spacesuit or something to hear this thing. sometimes we think ourselves as from another universe, which probably is the answer to how humanity came here. But in other cases, it's a pretty bad idea. In man's search for meaning, we don't literally have to go all over space to find out about man's search for meaning. Instead, we just need to find out just these crucial facts. One, that we're not alone on this planet. Two, we need to find out the other meanings to find out the meaning of life. And three, those are the meanings of love. Well, at least in this case, in the book, it says the way to have sex and stuff. And for the meaning of suffering, without suffering, we would not know pain. And without knowing pain, and eventually just getting pain once, we'll never be prepared for it. And that's why we suffer. And those also about the essence of existence help do all this. These three factors help combine and create the meaning of life. Man found about the meaning of life, but Viktor FRANKL didn't know it. He learned it the hard way eventually. He did learn it, but the hard way. But actually experience all of it. And there is always courage in everybody, and everybody who cries has courage in them. The greatest courage of all is the courage to suffer. And tears represent the courage to suffering. Not many people know that. Many people say crying people are very loud and are very naughty and that they should be violated from this world. But crying actually symbolizes that that person has the greatest courage of all. As I said earlier, the courage to suffer. And that's actually man's search for meanings, though. We've searched for our meanings for hundreds and hundreds of years. We already had the answer. We just didn't know that we already had it. Today, we know what the answer is. At least we think we know what it is. The man's search for meaning is to learn how to be right, wrong, what suffering and love is, and all the other things in the world. Man's search for meaning, the meaning is to learn. So yeah, and I'll end this video, this last main part of the video with these last words from the book. So let us be alert in twofold sense. Since Auschwitz, that's a concentration camp in Germany, one of the most brutal ones, we know what man is capable of. And since Hiroshima, we know what is at stake. Now, why did I say Hiroshima here? Well, it's because they bombed Hiroshima. Okay, for those who didn't know that, bye-bye. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you want to learn related topics about this, I recommend this book, The Holocaust by Susanna Davidson. It's an Usborne Young Reader, and it's in the Series 3 version of the Usborne Young Readers. And if you want to learn more about the Holocaust and also sort of the ways of how it works, I highly also recommend George Orwell's 1984, and also by George Orwell, Animal Farm. So buy these two books wherever George Orwell books are sold. And if you want to get this, buy wherever Viktor E. Frankl books are sold. And to get this, well, I don't know where, just go buy it. So these are books I recommend. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next episode. Shannon out, and peace. 3, 2, 1, blast off! Okay, I just remembered this book, The Boy Who Striped Pajamas, is by John Boyne, and also recommend this. There's a movie version, and it also talks about the Holocaust. It's similar to this, but it's a fiction. So now it's a real bye-bye. Recommend this and the book. Bye-bye!